Well, hello and welcome back to Nottingham University for the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup Day 2. We had a fantastic start last night as we've just watched back a few moments from that opening ceremony. What an incredible occasion that was, followed by 3 fantastic games of young touch rugby here on the live stream. And I'll tell you what, we've got a whopping 12 games coming up for you across the course of today, across the girls under 18s, the mixed under 15s, the mixed under 18s, men's under 20s, women's under 20s and boys under 18s. It is an absolute festival of touch rugby. That's what it's all about. We've got teams from 10 different nations here over the course of the 4 days. The joy on everyone's face has been absolutely something to behold. You should have seen the scenes last night when France came out to play, and it's France that are up first. France against South Africa in the women's under 18s division. I can see the South Africans below me getting ready and the French on the other side, and I'll tell you what, if last night's scenes with the French are anything to go by, we're in for a very special opening. But it is the pinnacle really of youth touch rugby here at Nottingham University. Teams from all over the world, as I say, making their way. And just to give you a flavour of that, obviously we've got England, Wales, Ireland and Scotland who've come from not too far, although the Irish last night did have some travel woes getting delayed in Manchester Airport, but they made it for kickoff last night, and that's what counts, isn't it? And then we've got, coming from closer to home-ish, we've got France and Belgium just hopping across the channel. But then how about this for some travellers? South Africa, as we've heard, China, the USA and the Cayman Islands. Teams have come from so far and so wide to be a part of this. It is incredibly, incredibly special, and we are very, very lucky to be here and to be bringing this to you. Now, all day today, as you might be able to just see in the background, Joe Wright is going to be helping us out on commentary, a touch wizard, as he's been described by many of us here in the Next Gen 15 team. But we are very, very excited. We're going to have lots of different guests coming and joining us throughout the day, throughout the weekend. So do stay with us for what is going to be an absolutely wonderful day. We've got kickoffs all the way through until 6:35 this evening, and stay with us the whole way through because that one is a big derby game. Boys under 18s, England versus Wales in the 6:35 kickoff. That is not to be missed. But as you might be able to see in a few moments on the field, players are getting ready. We've got 1 minute to kick off. The supporters are on the field. The players are ready to go charging through their tunnels. In fact, the French are charging through now. So we are going to switch across to live coverage of the opening game of Day 2 at the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup. France against South Africa in the women's under 18s division. It's going to be a cracker.
Oh man, are you jazz?
And so just under a minute until kickoff, and we've just seen those special scenes as the French and South African players came onto the field, and alongside me is Joe Wright. And Joe, pretty special scenes to kick things off.
Oh yeah, we were just saying that this is what touch is about, the support that's shown from, you know, 2 teams that have had to travel a long way. South Africa much further than France, but still to make the travel over, I mean, it's just spectacular.
And we saw plenty from the mixed 15 side for the French last night. Pretty excited about what their girls 18 side can do.
Yeah, and this is a division, you know, like England have a very, you know, well-versed team. It's very experienced. We don't know really that much about these two, but if we can judge them off the performances of their age group teammates, then these 2 teams will have everything to play for.
They certainly will, and it's France that have got the early possession here, just working their way towards the try line, hitting the brakes a little bit. Jolivet. There could be some space on the left-hand side if they get the ball to it, but just didn't quite, in this early morning setting, have the confidence in the passing range yet to go for that one.
Yeah, they took South Africa in really nice, just condensed all the defence on one side of the pitch and then looked to use the hands to whip it open. But, you know, early doors, your first crack at the line, it's very promising.
And you suspect, as the day goes on and that early morning bleariness wears off, that passing range might start to develop. In a slightly unusual substitution regime there. They've sort of managed to make it work. In fact, it could well work spectacularly for France. Just ball dropped. It sort of all went wrong and then all went very right all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where the attack doesn't really know what they're doing, so the defence doesn't know how to defend it, and it nearly comes to fruition there for a score. But I believe it's just going to be a penalty for offside. A couple of the South African defenders didn't quite hit the line. Duncan Mascarenhas hot on that.
We've got a double pink booted pod on for France, so we expect big things from them. That one just spilling, and it has been raining a little bit in the early hours this morning, and there's a bit of dew on the ground still, so the ball will be slippy early on, should hopefully dry out as the day wears on.
Solid transition here, but the half is just isolated, just gets the ball away. The South Africa need to go forward, make some extra yards, big contact in the midfield, ball is away, overlap.
Didn't get the call, I don't think.
No, that's when you do need that big screen from your winger. It was clear overlap, they've worked it really well, but unfortunately they've got no more touches to play with. The ball just goes to ground, but both teams just working through the processes early doors. Hands maybe not there as it would be if we were playing this game at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock today.
I should point out the temperature is cold as well, so not only have we got a slightly greasy ball, we've got fingers that are probably a little numb, and at this time of year probably not used to being a little numb. It's about 11 or 12 degrees this morning.
Yeah, middle of July, that's exactly what you want, isn't it?
These French players have just travelled across from an unprecedented 42-degree heat wave. Every rumour they've heard about the British summer has been proven true here. That being said, this sort of weather, this sort of cloud cover bodes well for the England bowling attack later on in the Ashes.
Please don't get me started on the Ashes, because I could accidentally ignore the touch and be here all day talking about the cricket.
It's just as well Australia haven't got a team here today. South Africa diving at the line, but touch was made. France will have possession.
Yeah, South Africa just seem to be, they're trying to run the sweeper play, but maybe just running it from a little bit too far out, so it just alleviates the pressure for the French defence. They can just sort of meander off their line a little bit and not really have to drive too hard at them. Oh, lovely little show and go. Oh, just gets caught. Superb little ball skills there.
Brilliant work. Scarlett Chauffet looked as though she was going to go around the outside there for just a half a second.
She has got the pink boots on. I was half expecting a full length there.
Another set of pink boots. This French side is loving the fluorescent colours.
Both teams living on the edge in terms of running at defence's half and potentially getting caught. That'll be 6 more. That's really well recycled there.
Now, one of the South Africans has got a combination working that I don't think I've seen yet, and I've seen a lot. The backwards visor. That is quite something.
We love that.
I'll have to try one of those myself.
Setting a trend.
France, could this be the opening? Oh, so close. Camille Martin almost getting the first score of the game.
Yeah, it's really well worked. They run the link punish, and now I think they're going to try and run this side again. Indeed. And this seems to be a little bit of a game plan. You run down, a very congested area, you suck all the defence in, and then I think you'll see one pass to the open side.
Diving for the line, but I think that wet ball just falling from her grasp at the last. It was a cracking effort from Rose Uge. But again, something that's going to get easier as the day goes on. That ball just a little too greasy at the moment to stick in the hand.
Yeah, and I'm a really big fan of this South African team at the moment. They're defending really tight because they know that the ball is wet. So France are going to struggle to throw long. So they're defending in such a tight area that they're able to just really drag all of the life out of the French attack. And then when they get into their transition, they're dumping the ball with 2 hands on most occasions. think they're going to get a foot in the ruck there. Good call from the referee. But when they're driving up the box side, they're dumping with 2 hands, maybe taking a bit of pace off the transition just to secure the ball. And at the moment, if you're South Africa, you've got to think, look, it's a good start. The French have had, yes, they've had cracks at the line, but you've held out. And now, hopefully, we'll see them be able to take some of that defensive success into their attack.
Bit of an error there, so France will have the ball back, but no signs of promise, as you say, from South Africa. France, though, will also be fairly buoyed by the amount of possession they've been able to hold on to. Once again, they're almost ahead of where they think they're going to be when they make their changes, but they've managed to make it work once more. Throwing the pass. Got to be careful on those touch and pass. Could be space. Pass goes out. Is it forward? Referees are happy with it. Did the touch come in though?
Oh, what touch?
Touch did come in. That's a spectacular touch.
Yeah, that's just as valuable as a try. That defender chasing into the corner. It's just a race of wheels, and South Africa come out on top. But again, South Africa doing pretty well in their defence, being able to just stay really tight and force France to go wide. And on the one occasion that they were able to find the long ball, South Africa backed their natural ability to get out there and cover.
Just a little fumble there. And we saw last night bucket loads of tries. This game getting close to halfway through this first half and yet to see a score, and it's just a couple of handling errors maybe that have prevented that as a result of the greasy ball.
Yeah, definitely. And at the moment, you know, a lot of the infringements are coming at the roll ball, dumping the ball, and the ball is rolling a lot, you know, further away. Ball can't move more than a metre, otherwise that's off the mark and loss of control. So what I would be telling my team is take 10% off the dump, just secure it, get it down nice and firm, plant it rather than rolling it, and then you can secure the ball and secure possession. Because at the moment, both teams just, you know, rolling through their processes at quite nice speed, but it's just the, you know, prime example there. It's just the 1%ers that aren't sticking. The ball going to ground, ball rolling off the roll ball.
It is one of the more counterintuitive aspects of touch, that it's called the roll ball, and the last thing you want to do really is roll it.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people are taught, okay, so this is how we're going to win the roll ball, and yeah, you definitely just want to slam that ball into the ground nice and firm so it stays exactly where it is.
Ball spilled, and South Africa have possession. Defended well, defended tightly, not panicked when they've been threatened.
Must have been watching the live stream yesterday, because a lot of those defences were set very wide, and there was a lot of space in the middle, but that's something that's not the case with South Africa, and yeah, they've got it down really well. Oh, lovely show and go. She's got to feed it off. Oh, superb.
Well, we did see a lot of teams last night watching footage and getting their analysis done ahead of today's action. Always slightly strange when you can hear your own words being used and then levelled back at people by the coaching staff.
Yeah, it is a strange one. I had a couple of people last night. It's a strange sensation, I've got to say.
And again, another error comes in, and South Africa probably need to just tighten those errors up, because while they've defended particularly impressively, they're yet to really muster an attack of real substance.
Yeah, and I think France are really showing what you can do when you get a smooth transition and you use that momentum well. They're not having to stop. That's a shame, because the hips just aren't quite square, so that'll be turnover ball. But France, when they get into their transition, look the most threatening at the line, because they're rolling with momentum. When they're getting repeat sets at the line, it's very static. They're not manipulating the South African defence, which allows South Africa just to sit really tight as they are and just move across as they move the ball. But
here's a chance though, quick turnover of possession, and South Africa this time can't get the cover in, and France opened the scoring, and that was That error count beginning to bite. They were halfway through making their changes were South Africa. They made the error. France went quickly and used every last inch. I'll tell you what, South Africa still almost found a way to get the cover across, but Sarah Guitard just getting herself over the line in the nick of time for the opening score of the game.
Yeah, and that's just being able to, recognise what's happening. South Africa decided to sub in D, which is, not something I would recommend to any touch player watching this. Although this is lovely play from South Africa. When they get going, they're showing that they can really move and move the ball with purpose. But France on that occasion just heads up.
Knocking on there, but they're going to have 6 more. France are offside, so first genuine attacking opportunity for South Africa. Let's see what they've got in store. Take the early touch. Now they try and engineer something, but touch is made.
Second penalty in a row for offside.
France have got to be careful here. They're very tight on the right-hand side, a little bit more spread on the left. Let's see what South Africa can do about that. They dive for the line. It looks as though that's going to be given as well. And South Africa respond with their first real attack of the game. Erin Venter with the score, and a good showing of what they can do when they get the opportunity.
Yeah, and for your first attack of the line, it's ideal. The only thing that could have made that set even better is because if you could have drawn a third penalty and got someone sent for time. But, first attack, drawing 2 penalties, and then getting the score off the back of it when you've not really had many opportunity, it's superb from South Africa, and it's a real confidence booster as well. And you can see in the defence, getting up, putting pressure on. And France is struggling right now.
South Africa advance on France, but they do have space on the right-hand side, but they just can't get that passing accuracy in off the left hand and not quite into the breadbasket. South Africa try and play out, but trying to pass around that defence, and perhaps, well, this ball just dries off, you're safer to concede that early touch and just work your way up the field with a bit more patience.
Yeah, and additionally to that, they're using the late pass, which is very effective when the ball sticks, because you can pass around promoted defenders. But because they're throwing it so late and with such speed, with the conditions that are on the pitch right now, it's just asking the South African players to do so much to get the ball in hand.
France go for the line again. They had people outside. The defence started to drift, and Alice Shearer thought, hey, I fancy a little go at the line myself here.
Yeah, it's a lovely little phase play. They run the 32 short, they give the rapper, and then the rapper receives the ball and just dumps it. A lovely little dive to the line. The South African wingers just hovering on that try line.
Well, it's what we spoke about yesterday, isn't it? The outside defender's got a decision to make. Do I bite in hard, or do I wait and try and drift my way out to the outside player? And in the end, neither option quite committed to, and France easily able to take advantage and take a 2-1 lead here. France very kindly passing the ball to South Africa. Might have been tempted to make them collect that themselves.
Yeah, or you throw it to feet, which is my favourite. You're like, here you go, but I'm not going to be that nice.
The old accidental overthrow. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean for that to go over your head.
To be fair, I know a couple of people that in those situations just absolutely rifle the ball at the person and say how good are your hands.
France going from deep here, making good ground, trying to get across their subs box, but they may in fact decide that there's enough space to just have a real attack. Chauffet thought about it. They're eating up the yards here. They're going to look to have a strike play, and there could be a bit of space out on the side here if they can get the pass away. They do get the pass away, and getting it down is Camille Martin. She had the first chance of the game, and now she's got a try to her name as well. 3-1 France lead.
Yeah, superb transition, just always moving with purpose. Brilliant dump in the middle just to engage the defenders, and then everyone is always tracking. South African defender almost gets there. It's really marginal if the touch is in first. Superb coverage, but just not quite good enough.
Well, if she went for the gap rather than giving the pass early, I thought, oh no, she's blown it. But such was the gas that she's got.
Yeah.
The defender was left scrambling.
Yeah, just enough in the end. South Africa needs to reply. Oh.
Space out wide, pass goes in. Oh, you called it. South Africa need to reply. And South Africa do reply instantaneously, as they did for the French first try. So 2 for the third. South Africa close it back down to 1.
Yeah, both teams really just condensing the defence all the way over into one side and then using the hands to whip it open side. And Winger holds her depth and width really well, and it's a walk-in at that point. But really good heads-up play to recognise, okay, this French defence is really tight on us. Let's back the hands and send it wide. And I think if South Africa can do more of that when they get the opportunity, they'll get more scores on the board.
They will indeed, and it was Bontley Madeleine finishing that one off as Camille Martin goes close again. 3-2 the scores at present. Couple of minutes left to go. Now South Africa would love to level this one up as we head towards half time. Having to work really hard to get to the right position to make their changes, but they've got them made, and there's a bit of space in the middle, but the pass doesn't go. And so it's a turnover and France possession. France windmilling their way over to that left-hand side so they can make their changes. Bit of confusion as to who's playing dummy half there, and then a bit of confusion as to who's supposed to receive the ball. I think all happened in a bit too much of a rush there for France.
Yeah, definitely, but you know, the ideas that you can see on the pitch are all absolutely correct. France are moving really direct in their transition. It seems to be the place that they're getting the most joy, especially when they're attacking the line. South Africa are looking to check the ball off in midfield. So as you can see, France are sending a couple individual players, but unfortunately some of the passes just aren't quite sticking. And you know, if South Africa can up those little 1%ers, then they're going to be able to get to the line a lot faster with more touches to use. At the moment, this game is really in the balance, regardless of the scoreline having France up. You know, if South Africa can make some of these passes stick, then it's anyone's game.
And they're playing with 6 more here. Well, they burned a couple of them, but now they find a little bit of open space, and they've got a chance to launch an attack. They're on 3 touches, now 4. 2 touches to play with, but in a good part of the field.
Yeah, and again, France are condensed in that far corner. I'd take the dump and go open side. They do. Is the long ball on?
Long ball is on, but long ball's put down. Defence have got across anyway, though. And that's the half-time hooter. One final play to go. In fact, the referee says that'll be that. We go into half-time. France leading against South Africa 3 scores to 2. And Joe, a very tight, cagey first half. A fair few errors, but I think we can put a lot of that down to the conditions here in the early morning kickoff.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the way that the two teams are trying to play. They're trying to play very fast. They're trying to check off in the middle, you know, play the extra pass to get the extra meter. And maybe it's not the style of touch you want to play for the current conditions, because you are asking a lot, especially of the hands and of the of your concentration. You know, first game, 8:30 tap off. Concentration levels aren't going to be where they are if this game was to be played at 12, 1 o'clock. But you know, first half, cobwebs are off now. And you can go into the second half essentially at 0-0. You know, South Africa, yes, you've only got 2 tries on the board, but you know, you've been good value for it. You've worked really hard. You've got to the line on more occasions than that. And if both teams could just shore up the very few mistakes they're making, tries will start flying in the second half.
Well, let's hope so. 5 tries in the first half and plenty of promise for a fair few more. And speaking of tries, you've got to stick with us for the 9:25 kickoff. We go back to the mixed under-15 competition, and why do I say, speaking of tries, because it's Wales, and Wales scored 21 tries in their opener, as we see just how enthusiastic some of the supporters are out there today. Oh, what a way to start your Friday morning, eh? Terribly exciting. But yeah, as I say, Wales scored 21 last night. They're taking on Belgium in that mixed under-15s competition at 9:25. So you've got to stick with us for that, because that Welsh side was pretty fearsome in the opening game of this Atlantic Youth Touch Cup last night. Here on day 2, at half-time in the opening game, it's France 3, South Africa 2 in the second half is coming up in just a couple of moments' time.
Ladies and officials, this is your 2-minute warning. Ladies and officials, this is your 2-minute warning.
Well, we've got a minute to go until the second half kicks off, and clearly both teams getting their messaging done at half-time in rapid space, because France were out on the field within about 30 seconds of half-time even starting. I think they know exactly what needs to be doing, and South Africa, to be honest, were out there about 90 seconds beforehand as well. So both teams clearly know the plan.
Yeah, definitely, and I think both coaches will be saying, look, there's only small things we need to fix. The vast majority of what we're doing is good. It's just the little handling errors, rolling the ball. So if both teams can fix those little things, then the success rate is going to go through the roof.
Ladies and officials, stand by.
Well, that familiar hooter blasts off, and we are back underway for the second half, with France leading South Africa 3 scores to 2, and of course for the uninitiated, France in blue, South Africa in green and gold. Well, in fact, just in green, really. I'm sure there's a hint of gold in there.
Yeah, green and gold, green and gold. Why not? I think every other South Africa team for any sport ever is green and gold.
And South Africa going close. South Africa going very close, so close that the try is going to be awarded. Sienna Hare, the perfect start for South Africa, and they have levelled it.
Yeah, superb, and it looked like France were set for them to go open side, whip it back across and use the width. A big call came from the other middle for South Africa for the ball back on the inside, and ball carrier just goes, nope, you know what, I'm going to pop it out. The link's bit in too hard. Lovely try, she knows before the refs give it. And that's the dream start for South Africa.
Well, we had to wait 10 minutes for the first try in the first half. We've had to wait about 10 seconds for the first in the second half. We're at 3 apiece, and a brilliant 20 minutes ahead of us, you suspect. As France launch into their attacking play, but spill the ball, and South Africa get the ball back, and this is a very promising start to the second half for South Africa.
Yeah, it looks like they've really fixed a couple of those issues. You know, the roll ball looks to be a lot cleaner so far. Attack is a lot more organised. They know what they're doing. They just need to secure the roll ball, because at the moment, once they do that, they're drawing so many penalties away from France. And France at the moment are really struggling to get the midfield press on. If South Africa starts to play around just a little bit wider, then they'll find the space that's outside the single shooter.
South Africa
Good done.
could find a bit of space. There is space on the left-hand side, but the touch had just come in. But it's the right idea, just trying to work on the outside to try and force that overlap.
Yeah, South Africa have started like a different team. They really have. They look like they're running with a lot more purpose. They know what they're doing. Oh, I think they got the touch count wrong there, because that was 5th touch. They could have set a really nice strike. And now they're going to have to create something. No touches to use. Yeah, good shutdown by France.
Clever play from France as well. Squeeze the defence on that far side, knowing the big pass can't really come in at this stage in the game while the ball is as wet as it is.
Yeah, and they know that that's the risky play. It might reward you on occasion, but it's a lot more risky than, you know, working the ball down the short side. And there are other options that will be safer for South Africa. So for that French middle just to get up and close that space, it's perfect defensive play.
Promising signs here from France as they absolutely fly up the field. Could be a bit of space on the right-hand side. How's the handling? The drift on the touch is good. And South Africa close that danger up.
I think it's just been given forward in the end. Oh, it's
getting away with one a little bit there. Fortunately for South Africa, I think the referees had all turned their backs at just the right moment for them, so they've got a chance to play out. Can they take advantage of their good fortune? France actually do really well to get an early touch in and now get a second touch in, and South Africa having to work very hard on this particular set to get up to their box. In fact, so hard have they been forced to work that they end up making the error, and France with their best opportunity of the half now.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll get their reward for their defensive effort, because they really put the shove on. South Africa couldn't deal with it. Now France are at the line. Lovely check-off back inside. Oh, I think the touch has just come in, but they'll get the repeat set for offside.
Sarah Guitard absolutely gutted she'll be. She thought she'd got over. She'll have to go again. She may yet have a chance to. Doesn't quite receive the pass on that occasion from Huget.
Yeah, it's really, you know, it's well-organised attack at the moment from the French. They're running their quickie sets, steps back. Good defensive shot there. And at the moment, France, you know, South Africa have got very tight defence. Maybe quickies aren't the right play, but we might see a variation. Oh! We did, and it just didn't quite go to hand. The space was there, and South Africa with another good defensive shot. They've been able to do that relatively consistently to this French team. They just need to secure the ball in their transition and get fresh legs on.
Again, just looking a little bit lost in transition as they try and find the players they want. And I know that all teams, and we saw this a little bit yesterday, teams have certain players that they want to take these particular possessions through. But is there a time, as South Africa actually is, as I can see you counting up there, they've only got 5 on the field. They've
yeah,
they really are having some confusion with the subs box. But it's something I've certainly noticed over the early rounds here is a lot of teams want certain players to run those plays in transition, and when those players aren't on the field, they almost look a bit lost and confused about who should be doing what, and the teams just need to take a little bit more responsibility on just individuals going, do you know what, I'm in the right place at the right time, I just need to be that person for this play.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it sort of goes to the coaching. I know a lot of coaches use the structures of you have your strike player, your ball handler, and then your platform player, players that specialise in certain areas that will complement each other. However, on occasion, if teams stay too strict to those structures, oh, lovely little hands in the corner, that'll be a try.
It's a second. Camille Martin, she started on the right wing. She's moved across to the left wing, but the result is the same. She's in try-scoring form this morning, is Camille Martin.
Yeah, it's just really good hands. The gap opens up. She maybe could have gone herself, but is unselfish. Gives the extra pass out to the wing just to secure the try beyond any doubt. It's a really well-worked play. Just recognising that the South African defence, yes, there's been a lot of confusion with South Africa over the past few minutes, and the French just absolutely capitalising on it. And the French force another turnover. But yeah, as I was saying before, with relying on certain players in certain situations, it does go against you when you're always relying on those players when they're not in position. But then that's the perfect opportunity for other players to put their hand up and be accounted for and say, okay, you're not here. Let me run this. Let me get ready. I'm in this position. So it's a fine balance between that coaching structure of running the plays with the right players in the right positions, and then just recognizing that occasionally it's not on, and we've got to use our initiative. We've got to think on our feet and just make things work. And I think teams that are able to work on the fly often get results when maybe they shouldn't, and they've been slightly outplayed, but they've been able to work on the fly and problem solve. And I think that's one of the skills that's just so invaluable in touch.
Well, it's one of those things that's true no matter what the sport you're playing. Stressing the defence is the most important thing, and sometimes that just means keeping them on the back foot, whether or not you're running the perfect play. Just running a play well will do something, as South Africa so nearly running a play very, very well indeed, but just getting touched almost as they cross the line. Perhaps if she'd got the dive in, she might have got there. I think the trouble was she was never intending to be the try scorer herself.
No, I think that's one of those situations of, wait, how have I got here? how have I got to this try line? This wasn't in the plan. But yeah, I think the dive, if she'd got the dive in, the defender's just made the touch on the back as she's upright crossing the try line, so the dive might have just taken it away. And it's one of those situations where if the defence are retreating and you're going forward, the referee's probably going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So, maybe one just to learn from. Next time if you're in that situation, you get the dive in early doors and the refs probably give you the benefit of the doubt.
We just saw a situation on field there that perhaps is the slim difference between these two sides, as France had given the ball away whilst they were in transition, so their players were all half on the field, half off, and very bunched, the ones that were on the field. South Africa get the ball, but end up running towards where the few defenders were as they go diving through almost. Whereas in the first half, on a very, very similar play, we saw France ruthlessly move to the space and score the try, and it's that slight difference that perhaps is the difference in this game, albeit in such a tight game.
Yeah, definitely. And at the moment, South Africa just running very laterally, but it's a lovely little switch. Can she get around the outside and give the pass? Oh, just not quite. Touch is made. And South Africa, to their credit, are completing their sets consistently. They're just not asking the right questions of the French defence, not making them work for their touches, running in lateral lines. That was the first play we saw from South Africa of the switch play to cut back against the grain, and it nearly works perfectly for them. So maybe that'll be something they use in this attempt at the line, but they just need to calm down, reset, and get the ball away. And France just applying way too much pressure and forcing that turnover.
Well, again, and you're much more of a touch aficionado than me, but it feels as though in their determination to make their changes in certain situations, they're costing themselves here. It strikes me that there are certain occasions where you go, do you know what, we're just going to have to run an extra play without making the changes here, because we're actually going to burn our attacking opportunity as a result of trying to do that. Yeah, and in those situations, someone needs to stay. Someone needs to stay and take the ball off that half, maybe take an extra touch if needs be, but someone's got to say, look, this isn't working. We're hampering our own development on our own process because we're trying too hard and too fast to get the fresh legs on, and no one's set for it. And that's the main problem, is no one is set, no one's ready. You might have touches to play with, but if you've only got one person on the pitch and they're half, you can't do anything with it. So
it's one of them where you've got to pick your times to sub. If you're tired, you know, I would say maybe sub one at a time. If one person's flagging more than the rest, you just sub one at a time, get that person off, get that person set, and then you can, you know, and then you can have that attack at the line. But there's just too much. I think it's just tired legs at the moment. There's a lot of stops and starts for roll ball infringements, drop ball, repeating the set. So,
well, we've just seen it again here on this play where they lost all momentum because they had to stop and wait for subs to get on, and it is the area that's perhaps causing them the most problems. So they nearly get across there. I think the touch has come in. It'll be touch and pass, and it'll be France ball, but France showing that despite getting themselves bogged down in some tricky substitution patterns, South Africa rather, I apologise, they are able still to find a way to create opportunities. And you've got to say, they've had the more of the running in this second half. Feels as though we've spent a lot more time with our necks turned to the right than to the left in this half.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think, you know, oh, lovely hands out. Oh, lovely pass back inside. Can they work it to the open side? Oh, the pass just doesn't quite go.
I thought for all money we were going to see a between the legs pass there. It was the pass that was on.
Yeah, get the tweener out. Get the tweener out. We love it. I do hope we see one of them this tournament, because they are spectacular when they go to hand.
But you just see it where the body angle was there. It was difficult to get the pass away, but everyone knew where the space was, and if there was ever a time to pull it out, it was there. Touch is made as France. A little dabble at the line, still with this slender lead of France, 4-3. Touch comes in again as they dive for the line.
I've got a feeling we'll see that same recipe of running down the short side, congesting the defence, and then moving it open.
To go back across, touch comes in, South Africa ball.
South Africa, by and large, have defended really well. You know, they've just been their own worst enemy at times, and you know, the roll ball infringements, the handling errors. You know, that turnover count for South Africa will be so high just from the first half that, you know, yes, they've made fewer errors and they've definitely drawn more errors from France. But because you made so many errors in the first half, you're always going to be up against it. And you can't help but feel like if France can, if South Africa can complete their sets and get into the France red zone more consistently, then, you know, South Africa could be the ones in the lead at the moment. And yeah, it must be frustrating for the coaches to see all of the good work that gets undone by one or two handling errors of just trying to throw the extra pass when it's not necessary. Sometimes you've just got to hold on to the ball, take the ball down to continue your momentum, to continue your progress to the line.
France thought they might be able to just cause a few defenders to bite in, but they couldn't quite do it. So in the end, a slightly panicked pass gives possession back to South Africa, who for the first time in a while on their very first play of the game managed to go forward, but then they just have the momentum halt again, but a missed touch just allows them to pick it up again. And it's that zone they've got to just get a bit sharper on, because if they can, they look so good in these positions that they can find the space, and they might yet find some more space as they try and go for the line. The touch comes in, and you could see there that Hannah Potgieter, she knew what she wanted the others around her to do. I just don't think the message could be communicated clearly enough for everyone to work out what was needed.
Yeah, that's one of those where you've got that extra touch. It's almost the most perfect strike dump opportunity, and you know, that player there is just take that ball down and allow someone else to scoot through, because you've driven that France defence all the way back. You've done all of the hard work necessary, and then yes, there was space on the open side, but that space will still be there if you take that touch, and then you give someone a retreating defence to run at, and that's a much more, you know, ideal situation to be in for an attacking player.
We tick into the final 4 minutes. France with this slender lead. Can they hold on to it? Could they even extend it? Or can South Africa find a way to level or even take the lead.
Oh.
Clash of legs between the two South African players. Sees that one switch over to France. South Africa have made a change in defence, get away with it as they were defending with 5. But the France error just allows a reprieve for South Africa.
I feel like South Africa just need to, keep their eyes up a little bit more, because on those turnovers in transition, France are really rolling the ball quickly, getting the play started again and trying to catch South Africa off guard. They've already had 1 score from it and they almost had a second there.
Six touches used up. Is the referee saying there that ball wasn't given back nicely enough, basically?
Yeah, definitely so. That's not one you see given very often, to be honest, apart from if it's glaringly obvious that someone spun that ball 30 yards away. But France essentially will get a crack at the line if they can move the ball nicely and get upfield, but South Africa making that touch behind where the previous one was made, so brilliant pressure.
You could see that the France players weren't happy with how the ball was given back to them, but it was given back to them exactly where it should have been, just perhaps not as delicately as it might have been.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just a bit of tiredness coming in. Ball goes wandering past you, like, yeah, let's kill a couple minutes. Oh.
Opening here for France. Pass goes out. Martin with the hat-trick, but I think that pass has gone forward. It has indeed.
South Africa player looks to be in a little bit of discomfort, maybe caught one in the cheek.
South Africa, I'm not sure their subs have worked out that's what's gone on. They were a little slow working out how they could have the requisite number of players on, and it's caused a bit of confusion and ended up with France taking possession, and with just 90 seconds to go, that could be a crucial moment in this game. France, a score here would surely seal victory. They go close with the dive, but South Africa close the gate. We're down to about a minute. South Africa needs something. France just need to get through their phases. They dive again, but this is all seconds being used. They'll be very happy with this, France. Back they go. 45 seconds now, and France being very, very wise here in their use of the clock. Now they move the ball. Oh, good fast hands. They could finish with a score. They do finish with a score, do they? No, not quite. Not quite. There will be one chance of that South Africa, but they are going to have to be snappy about it. There's a big old clock at the end of the ground here. They need to be paying attention to it. They need to think about how to work with this time. They've got 11 seconds. They know they need to create something. France know that too, though, and are just sending 1s and 2s up in defence to make these aggressive early touches and not allowing South Africa any progress. There is the hooter, and South Africa pretty much just stopped playing for half a second. What are you doing? Play! And France celebrate. They know how hard that was, how hard they've had to work, how good they had to be at certain times in that game. And France open the day's play up with the victory. A strong defensive effort just to make sure South Africa couldn't progress up the field in that final play. And a well-deserved, if very tight, victory for France in the end.
Yeah, definitely. They're, really good value for the win. And I think the game was won in that game sense of, the fast turnovers, increasing the tempo of play, and then right at the very end, just slowing things all the way down, being really composed on the ball, just really taking care of it, not forcing any unnecessary turnovers. And South Africa could probably feel a little bit hard done by. They had loads of success in certain areas, but the error count was just too much. If you're constantly turning over the ball, it gives you everything to do.
I think what we saw there, though, from South Africa was that if they can stay in touch with what looks a pretty good France side when they're probably not playing at their best, we saw quite a lot of difficulties in transition. We saw a few sort of handling errors and things. If they can iron those out, and they are ironable out things, they've got some real chances going forward throughout the rest of the competition.
Yeah, definitely. I've got to say that I am very impressed, especially for the defence, which is something that I tend to focus on. The defensive spacing was really good, and it forced France to go wide. And if you're limiting a France side to 4 scores, then that's something you can take a lot of pleasure away from, because you've worked really hard defensively. Like I say, the thing that went against South Africa was just the error count, the drop balls, the infringements at the roll ball. It all stacks up, and you're just surrendering possession over and over and over again. And there was a period in the second half of 5 minutes where it was South Africa turnover, France turnover, South Africa turnover, France turnover, and you just thought if South Africa could secure that ball and then work through the pitch with the amount of turnovers that they were forcing, they were going to find the success, but it just didn't quite happen for them. And early doors, time zones might be playing a factor. Tired first half, it was very dewy on the pitch, so a lot of external factors that will contribute towards some of the errors. And if they can iron them out, like you say, they're going to give every team a good run for the money.
They certainly are. France with the victory, a strong performance from them. As we say, though, plenty to be proud of for South Africa as well. It was an incredibly tight game, and it all finishes up France 4, South Africa 3. Do stay with us. The 9:25 a.m. kickoff, we switch back to the mixed under-15s, and it's Belgium against Wales. Wales, who, remember, last night scored a whopping 21 tries in their opening game against China. This one not to be missed, of Wales